You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Talk Star Wars is a production of Emotionally 14. For fantastic podcasts, video series, blog posts, and much more, visit us on the web at emotionally14.com and enjoy content for the permanently teenaged.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 183 of the Talk Star Wars podcast from emotionally14.com. I am your host, as always, Rob Wade, and with me is the Lando to my Han. Wait. Yeah, kind of.
A satellite dish to your Millennium Falcon.
He once got knocked off when I was running through somewhere tight.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Brad Hammer-Barnes.
How you doing?
Me. I have a sore finger.
You have a sore finger?
Yeah, it's a weird thing to open the show with. I totally realise, and I don't expect sympathy. It's just a statement of fact. Okay. It hurts, and it's
I thought
weird.
I thought it was an anecdote attached for a minute, but no, it's just an event. Okay.
I wish. One
of those random injuries.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with sore, limbs and stuff when I have an explanation for it. But this one yesterday started caning and has just got slowly better over time. Mm-hmm. It's very peculiar, and I will persevere as best I can, as always, to kind of give us the show. There's not a lot
So Rob said his finger was caning. For all our American listeners, the verb to cane means to drink something really quickly.
I suppose it does, but it also means, I suppose if we're going to do this, we should probably do it correctly as well. I'm okay with the comedy one too. But to cane is to hurt. Yeah. Something stings like a bee.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the verb to cane is to give up your career of 40 years to become mayor.
Or to have the same English accent in every film for the rest of your life.
I thought that was a Connery.
Oh wait, no. Yeah. I think they compromised on a canery.
Okay.
Yeah. A canery Cusack.
And if you've never heard the show before, it's come up with this, to be honest.
Yeah, if you've never heard the show before, we talk Star Wars. Clues in the name.
We do. We tease him MFN SW, guys.
This is it, exactly. So we'll begin with an email from certainly our most consistent emailer. And I think most devoted is not a stretch.
Yeah.
So Vesuvi has written in kindly for us. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Winking Twi'leks.
Lost it. No,
so we had the Mandalorian trailer.
Natalia Tenner, isn't it? Yeah. Yes. Or Natalia Dyer. One of the two. I'll get them mixed up. Okay. I'm not good with Natalia's.
Fair.
Watch from Skyrim. I don't know anymore.
Since you theorized that our heroes in that first shot were on Batuu, it seems most likely to me to be Pasana.
I love Pasana.
Oh, I know. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Considering the colourful celebration they surveyed appeared to be the Aki Aki. That's a bounty hunter for babies, isn't it?
Yeah. That's harsh. She's 2.
That's canon.
Yeah.
They may get to Batuu at some point. I'd be surprised if they didn't go to Black Spire Outpost and chow down on some ogre's obsession in this flick. Thanks, market-based tie-ins.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you notice that they're now allowed back on flights? I don't know why they weren't. There was some weird there's some weird buy rule or something that means they can't be. Maybe it's because they're pressurized.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you? Obviously, you can have Tinder drink on a plane because that's what they serve you. Yeah, but I don't know if you're able to take your own on.
I think that's what it is. Maybe it's because we've got when we fly from out of the UK, we have a fluid limit of 100 ml, so that's not much of a can. That won't get you much. It's not even a fun size.
No, I think it's just because they look like M65 grenades, but TSA was getting a bit.
Yeah, but if
they don't even really, they look more like M65 grenades when they look like thermal detonators anyway.
Yeah, if they've got a liquid rule anyway, then all they're doing is just extending that, and that's actually not news, and it's just one of those headlines they can just go, oh, silly overreacting people. It's like, well, if there's a fluid rule,
Yeah, it's. I think it's one of those edge cases where, in theory, and I underline this in theory, do not try this at home. There's absolutely nothing to stop you smoking on a petrol forecourt because the temperature of a cigarette is not high enough to ignite petrol.
Yeah. But
at the same time, the legislation is still in place in case something goes wrong.
Yeah,
so it may be something like that.
I say it's a perfectly good reason to have legislation in place. If you're going to have legislation in place, it should
be around explosives.
Yeah, it should be around reducing risk of immolation.
Yes. Well,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I know, Vader's law.
Yeah, exactly. The Mustafar Pact.
Yeah.
So, also, when Rob noticed...
gives you the moral high ground, really.
Yeah, I guess so. Also, when Rob noticed that the red laser appeared to be firing on Starkiller Base, I'd be inclined to guess that was actually Kijimi.
Ah, she's a black belt in karate.
Yeah, no, she knows all the holds and throws.
Yeah.
The beam itself might be emanating from those new cannons mounted to the keels of the Imperial-class Star Destroyers.
Okay.
Could be, yeah. Could be like they're, we speculated that they might all have these new cannons because they may be kind of Operation Cinder related.
Yes.
I agree, Vesuvi continues, that the obvious misdirects are an unwise creative choice for whoever's compiling the new trailers. I'm of the opinion that there is enough wheat in Star Wars to not pretend the chaff is anything other than it is.
Love it.
Yeah. Notwithstanding, as you well know, I've loved all of the movies and series, despite the previews, sizzles, and spots.
Yep.
I've seen no evidence so far to lead me to believe The Rise of Skywalker should be any different for me, unless it is.
Yep.
I mean, that's a good caveat, as caveats go.
Totally.
This is how I expect it to go, but it equally might not. Well, yeah, I mean, that's fair. I can't argue with that.
No, I'm totally fair. I mean, there's very little Star Wars stuff I'm not taken with.
It's basically holiday special and parts of episode 2, right?
A little bit of 8. But generally, I'm quite happy just to kind of go along and be spoon-fed Star Wars. I don't tend to. I'm not sure what term is. I don't critically think it over. I guess I just kind of go cool, more Star Wars.
Yeah. Since you mentioned Canto Bight, I was one of those people who loved its design and purpose, but was less emphatic about its execution.
It's an excuse I've given many women.
'Twas nothing my imagination couldn't fix. I do so love double negatives. I don't not like them.
No.
On that same topic, in regards to Carlos's dispatch, oh my, I see why many. What?
Is that a double entendre?
I'd say so.
Or as the French say, double entendre.
Yeah, let's.
Do they? I don't know. If you're French, write in French.
Okay. I see why many might view slight changes or contextualizing as retcons in the most negative sense of the term. For me, I do my best to see these, in universe, as evolution of perceptions of the characters. None of them are omniscient, not even Force ghosts. In real life, these instances might very well be retconning, but there's no use to automatically attach pessimistic significance to any of it. The makers are not doing it to irritate us, the audience. I'd like to think they're doing it, perhaps heavy-handedly, or more often awkwardly, to give us new things to ponder and discuss. Adjust your headcanon accordingly. And optimistically. Otherwise, you're indulging your dark side inclinations. Do you really want to end up looking and feeling like Palpatine? That's most of my week. Seems like a good portion of the fan base does.
Someone's just joined Twitter.
I know, right? Salt, just lick salt.
Yeah.
Lastly, that was so sweet of you both to joke about giving an episode of Talk Star Wars to me. Yeah, sure, joke.
Yeah, joking.
I would just prattle about gonk droids for 45 minutes, refer to the brilliant and cryptic story I submitted, and you never read aloud in your sexy British accent.
And I think you know why.
The rest of the time, I would just tap dance, without tap shoes, on carpet, which makes for terrific radio. I think is the implication there. Drinking weak decaffeinated coffee, how would you know? And unsweetened almond milk. Vesuvi, Knight of the Commonwealth.
I can't drink decaf, it gives me a headache.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I find if I drink enough Diet Coke, I get a similar sort of sensation of feeling a bit rough. Coke Zero, I can drink for days. Diet Coke, yeah, I don't know what it is, some subtle difference in the ingredients that just has an effect, but yeah, of the two, Coke Zero I can drink for days, Diet Coke I can only do 1 or 2 cans and it starts to make me feel rough.
Yeah, I can't live without caffeine, and I probably would make myself quite ill if I
go through
switched off
phases where I sort of do, a week off every now and then just to give myself some breathing space and sleeping space, which is also nice. And to answer your point, Vesuvi, about the gonk droid story, it's the cryptic story you submitted and I never read aloud in my sexy British accent. Just leave that. I just want to leave the door open for that one.
Can you imagine? She's worried, but just prattling about gonk droids for 45 minutes is going to put us off. Like she's never heard the show before.
I can think of about 6 people who would be on board for that.
We did an hour on action figures of characters who sit down dejectedly.
That was 12 action figures. No, there's probably more.
Oh.
The guy sitting next to Base Natal.
It's one of my favourite bits.
Yeah,
it doesn't make the end of the year show. I'll be really hurt.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah.
It's a contender. It's a contender.
I would
maybe it would just be time for the annual trolling out of Lefty.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Yeah, it's not a political joke.
No, I was going to say it took me a second. So what? This seems an unusual insertion of I see. Anyway, Vesuvi, thank you very much for your email as always. What do you make of the idea that retcons are kind of how do you see retcons as a general rule?
In general, I don't hate them, and I'm more in favour of retcons than I am reboots. I admire the creativity and effort that goes into keeping a universe or a storyline bound together when it was originally made out of twigs and spit. It's nice to something like the Marvel Universe, by its very nature of having been running for over 50 years now, is possibly 60. I've lost track, and also Brad Maths. But for decades, there's across multiple universes and multiple characters, there's going to be omissions and continuity errors there. And I like more when they make an effort to explain something away rather than just hit the reset button or just gloss over it. I didn't mean to come down especially hard on the certain point of view one. If anything, it was kind of an admiring, have you seen how blatant this is, and people still just swallow it. It's amazing. I'm much more in favour of retcons and in-universe explanations than, just reaching for the reset button. I as time's gone on, I understand why it had to be done.
Yeah,
with Star Wars, but with some series get remade, like why did they have to reboot Nightmare on Elm Street? Why couldn't it just been another Nightmare on Elm Street story 20 years later?
Yeah.
Rebooting it was just a lazy rehash of the first film, whereas with a bit of extra effort and a bit of extra creativity gave them a wealth of background to work on and could still use some of the touchstones of the early movies if they did want to make it accessible for new audiences. It's what this idea of a soft reboot, I'm sure, used to be called a jumping on point.
Right.
And that seems to me a better way of looking at that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I much prefer an evolving body of organic storytelling rather than just cutting down the dead wood every now and again.
Yeah, I
mean, my forest. I'm going to see if metaphors pull me out.
Can you point to an example of one that does it well?
A shared universe that keeps the retcons and just keeps the stories.
Well, just
sprawling and going.
Yeah, just that kind of, a world that you feel is well kind of maintained and well looked after in that sort of vein.
It's exceptionally badly looked after, and that's kind of its strength as a Cthulhu mythos.
Okay.
Because the whole idea of that is it is supposed to be organic, and no one's 100% certain that the story they're telling is true.
Yeah.
Try to think of a more regimented. I mean, Star Wars has done it well post reboot, I think. Even some parts of pre-reboot that was actually tied together really well. Pre-reboot, when the prequels came out, that overtrod a lot of canon, certainly with stuff like young Boba Fett's background and a lot of his stories. So rather than just going, we'll throw those comics and books on the fire, then they go, it wasn't actually Boba Fett. There was a new character called Jester Muriel who's pretending to be Boba Fett for a number of years. And it was a bit of a bogus explanation. It was more a lampshade than an explanation, but we went with it, and it meant those stories still had some emotional weight, even though the weight had shifted a little. Rather than just going, the prequels have come out, so now any stories we told pre A New Hope are on the fire.
Yeah, I sort of get what you mean. Like,
in many ways, I do wish that the Disney reboot had kept anything pre-Jedi.
Yeah, there's some stuff I kind of wish it's not so much that I wish they'd kept it. It's just I don't necessarily see that they needed to get rid of it. Like basically all the KOTOR stuff, all the Old Republic era stuff,
absolutely
didn't need to be touched. Like it was totally.
Shadows of the Empire could have been kept.
Yeah, that could have been kept. I mean, basically, with some, I'm sure there are some exceptions in there, but basically all but the Vong.
Yeah.
The Vong would be the big one to kind of... You'd have to go some to explain why they didn't even get a mention in episode 7 if they'd left it in and the film had turned out the way it did.
There was a massive gap between the Thrawn duology and Vector Prime. And for a while I was thinking, is that what they're going to put the new movies in?
Yeah. But then obviously they took the cannon hammer.
No, and I understand it, but I also understand that it's coming into that level in the playing field for new people coming in, and a lot of around The Force Awakens was based on bringing lapsed fans and new fans in. Yeah. So, and I can understand it would be confusing to a new fan to say, oh, that one's not canon anymore, but that one from 1986 is because it's pre-Jedi. Yeah. Whereas it was so much easier just to bang the cannon hammer and go, okay, we'll reset everything. So in no way do I think it was a decision they rushed. I do think they thought through and tried to work out what they could do with it. I don't think their first instinct was to throw everything on the fire.
I can't imagine it would have been their first instinct. I do think there's a possibility they might have said, well, let's drop it for now and then reintroduce stuff over time if we want to.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I kind of think they would like, well, let's just one definitive act and then we can sort of walk it back slowly over over a period of time to be determined later, you know.
Yep. I'm sure there are bonkers fans out there who've tried to do a combined timeline.
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, if somebody's done it, I'd love to see how they've worked that out, because there would be some interesting, whether or not they'd have to sort of, I think if it was me, this is kind of what I'm sort of, the way I kind of see it. If it was me, I would kind of go down the route of working out some sort of between the two thing. So I'd be like, okay, well, you do have to drop this because otherwise it makes no sense. It doesn't get mentioned, or you know, something like you'd probably have to drop the showdown at Center Point stuff because like the whole gravitas of kind of Han's family is kind of lost a bit if you know that he's got other family elsewhere in the galaxy.
Yeah,
I suppose it sort of feels like that would be a big thing to leave out. Again, it's like...
Also, the other way around, there's nothing saying Rebels couldn't exist in the old expanded universe.
No, totally not. It would work just as well.
With Thrawn, maybe a bit of a fudge, but... Yeah. But certainly the first couple of series you could work in.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I'm sure you could work out something where at the end of Rebels, they're just like, right, Thrawn, you failed. Yeah. Back to the unknown regions with you.
Ooh, I'm on to you. You take Pelion with you. But what do I do? Take Pelion with you. Holiday book next week. Take Pelion with you.
Yeah, you can still have holiday on ship. It's like, well, it's not the same.
Is this about me breaking your mug? Take Pelion with you now.
Yeah, before I remember the mug. Oh, incidentally, speaking of Pelion, we had a message from Kyle via our Patreon after the episode where we talked about Thrawn.
Right.
I think it was maybe not the last episode, the one before last. And Pelion has been recanonized.
Okay, cool.
Which is interesting.
I had a feeling he had, but couldn't place where.
Yeah, I still have yet to do so. He might have turned up in one of the comics, I guess. One of the Journey to something.
I was going to write in now, isn't he?
Yeah, well, hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
So our next message, speaking of people writing in, is from Matt.
Oh, okay.
Matt G.
Hello, Matt G.
From Oz. And Matt writes, "G'day, team.
Hello.
Hope you're all well, and if not, that you will be soon." Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
A couple of days, it should be fine, but thank you for asking. First off, absolutely love James's question from last week's episode. Brilliant takes on The Last Jedi. Looking forward to hearing more emails. So those were, if you recall, the stuff about Snoke.
Oh, that, yeah.
The stuff about Snoke basically sort of putting in the alternate memories and... Yeah. So like what Kylo sees is like what we see in that end of that teaser, and then what Rey sees is like a nice band and stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff's really cool.
Loved it.
And also, I think there was something else about Palpatine, but it escapes me now. Unfortunately, we record, I do the edit, and then my brain empties. It's like
I hear the show on the Monday and then go, oh yeah, that was funny, and then no, it's gone again.
I've got like pod a sketch memory.
I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So, my question is from the wake of D23. Of all the Star Wars trailers from over the years, including animation and games, do you two have a favourite?
Yes.
Mine is the first trailer for the Knights of the Old Republic MMO, The Old Republic.
Yes.
If they're willing to make something similar into a fully fledged TV series, I would be so in for it. The trailers thereafter didn't dip in quality or intrigue either. I played the series for a bit, but unfortunately it chewed through the data cap we had at the time, and also realised how damn complicated an MMO can be. Love to hear your favourite trailers. Matt.
My favourite trailers were KOTOR Deceived trailer.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which is the one he's referring to.
Oh yeah, so the first one they did for the MMO,
the Darth Malgus one.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh,
the game was pretty good. I played it once, and when I say I played it once, it makes it sound like I dipped my toes in. I spent a day in that world.
I've never played it. I've never had a PC good enough.
Yeah, it was one of those games where it's like I didn't play it when it first came out because I think it was just a period of time where I just couldn't justify an MMO.
I never did Galaxies.
Galaxies was awful.
It was supposed to be.
I played it after 2 years, I think, after it had sort of hit its peak, and it was really, it was horrendously buggy. It took hours to get going, and it was really boring.
Okay.
Old Republic, by contrast.
The only MMO I got into massively was DC Universe Online, and I really liked that.
Yes.
That was.
They've just released that for Switch.
Fun. Oh, really? It was just
it's interesting.
Even if you weren't going after quests or anything like that, it was just sometimes just fun to fly around the city.
Yeah, I think the only problem I kind of think about it going back is the fact that you could fly to the top of the tallest building right away. Kind of.
Yeah.
I feel like it sort of lost a bit of grandeur for that. Like it should be like flying should have been something you built to. Like with World of Warcraft, you didn't just fly out of the gate. You had to get winged mounts before you could fly. And you had to level up to a certain level before you could do that. So maybe you start with you could do a bit like one of the Jedi Knight games had the ability to sink points into Force Jump. And it made it so that the Force Jump got slightly better. But something that works more like that, I think, would be, where it just gets kind of progressively more impressive to the point where eventually it's like, okay, now you've unlocked flight and now you can fly around the map to your heart's content. Now that you've explored it fully, now it's about like convenience. It's a bit like fast travel. You can't fast travel in Skyrim or Fallout until you found the place.
Yeah.
Then you can fast travel freely between them. It's like that kind of makes sense to me. Because like now you know the route. It's
online again now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's making me think about Skyrim a lot, but many things do. It's probably the game I've played the most hours of in my life. 300 plus. Yeah.
Apart from stuff like Tetris, I'm not sure what mine would be.
Oh, I suppose if you include stuff like that. If you include Football Manager.
If you're talking when are we doing our show on that?
On Football Manager?
Yeah, I think me and you need to do a Let's Play Football Manager show.
I would be well up for doing that.
Okay, let's get your October project out of the way, and then we can start doing that.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. Yeah, October project Nuptials. Is priority number one with a bullet at the moment.
Which sounds rude, and it is.
I know.
Yeah.
I've got some nuptials coming up. Oh, is it October already?
The KOTOR Deceived trailer. A number of times I've found myself mired in the political discussion on Facebook, and so wish that Malgus's "You were deceived" was a GIF.
That would probably be my pick as well. I think apart from that,
it's for multiple lightsabers just charging out the back of a latte as well.
Yeah, that was a rather special moment.
Yeah, I liked the book as well, but that trailer's a few times I've just kind of gone, I want to go back and watch that again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so the other ones were fine, but that one, it was a good thing they led with
special.
That one.
Yeah,
the other ones are good, but that was a good one to lead with.
Yeah. Incidentally, as an aside. I'm not I feel for Matt because I too have been at the mercy of data cats before. They suck.
Yeah,
especially on home broadband. Like, they suck so bad. I remember when my first. So when I moved back this way, about 7 years ago now, I realised this because my work anniversary just rolled over, and it was shortly before that. I had a 20 gig data cap, and I was like, "Yep, I'm going to phone straight away and get that changed. I don't care I don't care how much extra it costs. I will pay it. 20 gigs is nothing this is even in 2012. So imagine what that's like in 2019 on a home broadband. Yeah, bearing in mind, like some games you can patch at like 4 gigs. That's like 20% of your cap. Oh, you want to download a game? That's like, I'll do half of it now and then half next month. Yeah, forget that.
Another trailer I really liked was for a cartoon which was going to be released and then never did because it came out around the time of Disney buyout. Was Star Wars Detours?
Yeah,
Seth Green's Star Wars animation. It just looks so much fun, and I understand why it had to be shelved.
Sure.
But I remain hopeful it's going to turn up.
I would like to see it
in some form someday because it just looks so much fun.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
It was just a Star Wars comedy show, a bit similar kind of sense of humour to the Robot Chicken or the Star Wars Lego
or the Family Guy ones to a point.
Little bit like that, yeah.
Obviously,
but no, it just looks so much fun. I was so hyped for it and really bummed that it got cancelled.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There were a couple of casualties of the Disney buyout that I did feel were slightly sadder. Like that was one, and Tiny Death Star was the other one. I loved Tiny Death Star.
I love Tiny Death Star.
Yeah, I don't even think it was that. I think it came out with a Disney logo in it as well. I feel like at one point it came out with Disney.
I think. My understanding is it costs so much per year to keep a game in the store, and if it's not turning over enough money to make it worth doing so, then the publisher will discontinue it. It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Tiny Tower's great and all, but with Tiny Death Star, I also liked the idea of me being Palpatine physically operating a lift for every single person on the Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
So in theory, I was Emperor of the known galaxy.
Yeah.
But I was also still in charge of the lift.
Yep.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I had a gym staffed entirely by Ewoks.
I had that. Yeah, I had.
You had that as well.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And I remember I took
a sitcom waiting to happen.
I took a screenshot of this and I put it on. I think Twitter it must have been Twitter. I couldn't have been Instagram because I didn't even think I was on them then. Mm-hmm. But I had one where when you click out of an app and then you go back in and it like resumes but doesn't quite resume properly.
Yeah.
I had it come in and he just, congratulations, you've earned 1 coin. Getting rich one day at a time, my man. One day. Yeah.
A bit of a sticks in my mind about Star Wars Detours. It was just a throwaway line of the Emperor walking into a room where Darth Vader was waiting. He just goes, Vader, nothing darkens my day like seeing your face, you big breathy bummer. And... in America, obviously, a bummer is someone who brings you down or ruins your day. In Britain, it's even funnier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like you've seen it, I know, Battle Royale.
Yes.
There's a line in there where it's like, when I quit baseball, I was bummed. I was like, wow. I'll spare our listeners overseas the details, but that's a hell of a downside.
You can use Urban Dictionary, come on.
Yeah, that's a hell of a downside. I mean, I'd have probably kept at it.
I just bought a new glove. Read into that what you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The Old Republic Deceived, I have to agree completely, was easily the best Star Wars trailer.
Yeah,
for anything.
Totally agree. I would say honourable mentions film-wise. Mm-hmm. I remember the second Force Awakens teaser being
the one for Luke dialogue.
Yeah, that was a really good trailer.
Yeah, it was.
Just the whole thing was just really well put together and had loads of it had intrigue. It was such an unknown quantity. We had no idea what to expect, and it was great for that. I think there was so much unknown quantity in that. Let's say it sent us down the garden path of Finn being the Force sensitive because he was wielding the lightsaber, and I thought that was cool. I wasn't unhappy with what we got instead, but it was that sort of all that stuff was seeded in that second teaser because the first teaser was literally just the Falcon. Kind of,
no, there wasn't much to the first teaser.
Yeah, the Falcon just kind of bursting through cloud cover and
Falcon BB-8 rolling along the desert. You got the shot of a Star Destroyer and Jakku and Kylo Ren's broadsaber.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm okay.
And you got the flash of a dropship at the start, didn't you? With stormtroopers.
Yes. Maybe I'm thinking of because there was a teaser that was just the Falcon bursting through cloud cover, wasn't it?
That might have been a TV spot.
Or was that? Oh, yeah. Maybe you're right. Actually. Yeah. In which case, the first trailer then, the one with Snoke's voice. Mm-hmm. That was probably. Yeah. They were both good, to be honest.
Yeah, they were.
They were both really, really good trailers.
Back when Star Wars trailers were good.
I mean, they're not bad.
Solo was fine,
Yeah, I've just not found myself as enthused about the new ones because I think we touched on it last week. I just feel like they're not putting as much effort into the smoke and mirrors now. It's all about, it just feels that it's...
I get burnt out on trailer analyses, to be honest, especially after the Luke one, where people spent hours analysing stuff that wasn't in the final film.
Yeah. Yeah, I can deal with, like, what could it be? Like, what could it mean, you know? But it was... I do understand what you're saying. Like, there was a lot of analysis that went nowhere. And that's fine. You can't, we can't force them to put stuff in the film. And there's systems in place for a reason, and they're very well... In our case, certainly, they're very well deserved.
Yeah. I used to find that trailer drops were really good for me thinning out my podcast feed.
Okay, how so?
Because a trailer drop, and I'd hear Rebel Force Radio dissect the trailer for 3 hours, and then I'd hear Forcecast dissect the trailer for 3 hours, and then it would go on to someone else dissecting the trailer for 4 hours, and then Fangirls Gone Rogue would dissect the trailer for 4 hours, and Mark Godsif used to have a show, I forget what it was called, and they'd dissect the trailer for 3 hours. After a while, I was just like, I have too many Star Wars fucking...
Yeah, he had a guy, though, I can't remember his name, but he was so insightful. I can't...
Naked Rob?
That's the guy.
Yeah.
No, it was Steve. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. And some, like, wordy pillock that nobody listened. So, Matt, thank you very much for that message. And hopefully I would imagine you enjoy our take because we agree with you. That's fair to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if generally speaking, if we
both have the same ideas,
complete and utter agreement, then
Auntie Kev should listen.
Exactly. This is it. So maybe some Old Republic stuff would be cool. Speaking of Star Wars games, did you catch the news this week about the re-release of Jedi Knight 2?
If you mean, was I the one who sent it on to you? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way this works, I don't know if you've done this before for like a year and a bit, but generally I'll ask you things knowing you know the answer to be yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Never mind, though, eh? Oh, that's weird. Never noticed that hole in the fourth wall before.
Yeah. It's how the air gets in.
Yeah, I was going to say, it explains the breeze. Which in my flat is something I noticed.
Yes. I can't remember if I played Jedi Knight 2 or not. I've definitely played, because Dark Forces 2 was called Jedi Knight, wasn't
Correct.
It?
Yep.
And then Jedi Knight 2 came along, which was no longer called Dark Forces, but was the third one in the series. Fine.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not convinced I ever played. And there was also an expansion disc to Dark Forces Jedi Knight
called Mysteries of the Sith.
Mysteries of the Sith.
With Mara Jade.
I thought was Jedi Knight 2, which is what's thrown me.
Right. Yeah, so they've...
I'm not convinced I've played... Wait, hang on. Where does Jedi Academy fit in?
After Jedi Knight 2.
So Jedi Academy is Jedi... No,
so I'll walk you through it. So Dark Forces 1 is Dark Forces. It's just Dark Forces. That's the
Dark Troopers, Kyle-Katarn. Yep.
Dark Troopers, Kyle-Katarn, Mon Mothma.
Yep.
Jobs are good. one.
Yeah.
Great game as well, by the way.
Absolutely.
Still holds up, certainly against its peers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun. Jedi Knight... Dark Forces 2 is Jedi Knight.
Jarek, Valley of the Jedi.
Jarek, Valley of the Jedi.
Yeah.
The fella with no legs. I forget his name, but he was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name, but... basically like a sort of precursor to Darth Maul. So I think he did have a double blade, actually.
Modern.
I remember there was Yun and Saris as well, and they were the sort of the three that appeared in all the cutscenes.
Yes.
The FMV cutscenes, lest we forget.
Yeah. It was good at the time.
It looked great at the time. It's not held the test of time so well.
It was... at the time, we thought that was the closest we were going to get to a new Star Wars movie, of which there were 3.
Yes, that was. I remember the first time I played Jedi Knight on my computer and igniting the lightsaber for the first time and just being overcome with this kind of childish wonder. And it was. Technology's come a long way since then. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So from there, you have Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. So they say Jarek, Valley of the Jedi, Kyle-Katarn, and so on. Mysteries of the Sith, which is Kyle-Katarn goes a bit of a wrong one. Mara Jade, you play as throughout the game.
Yeah, I have played that.
Yeah, good game. As expansions go, it was an enjoyable one.
Yeah.
So then there's Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. So that's Desan. It's about the Valley of the Jedi to a point.
Right.
Luke's in it. Lando's in it.
Cool.
No Mark Hamill, but Billy D. So a bit of a weird one there, as I recall.
He might have had an exclusivity contract with Wing Commander at the time.
Could well be. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely want to stick on board with something like that.
Did Billy D step in and do Luke as well?
No, I wish he had, but he didn't. Yeah. That would have been amazing. Then there was Jedi Academy, which was a spin-off game from Jedi Knight 2, which was about... Yeah,
I feel I've played it but didn't own it, so I must have played it at a friend's house or something.
Okay, it came out on... It had a PC and console release. I know it came out for sure on the original Xbox and possibly the GameCube as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my housemate might have had it or something.
So they've announced that this year they're re-releasing Jedi Knight 2 for PS4 and Switch.
Right.
And they're releasing Jedi Academy next year, early next year.
Okay, cool.
So 2 more.
You excited?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love me some Star Wars games anyway. The opportunity to re-buy some of the older ones and play them on the new machines, I actually quite like. I know not everybody's that taken with it. I know some people seem to think that new games don't come out because old games come out, and that's only really true if it's the same team. And generally, it's not. So I'm not so concerned about, not concerned about output, especially, I mean, speaking for the Switch, it's got plenty of games coming out. The problem is, the trick is stopping them, to be honest. Like, there's loads of stuff coming out on a weekly basis. There's usually a couple of dozen. And, I mean, some of those are what it could charitably be called, mobile-friendly ports or less charitably shovelware. But there's some even then, I mean, I've bought a couple of games this week that I've either bought or played elsewhere, but I like the idea of playing them on the go. So there's a game I'm playing at the moment called For the King, which is it's like a tabletop roguelike RPG.
Okay.
And it's just really enjoyable, and it's it's played on a little hex board, and you sort of walk around the map and complete quests and fight enemies and stuff, and it's just a really nice RPG. And I played it on the Xbox and thought, this is cool. And I hope it, is it out on the Switch? I hope so. I went looking, thought the price was too high, waited for a sale and bought it. And now I get to play it on the train, which is, yeah, exactly. And so, as I say, Star Wars games are always nice to have. I have some of the re-released ones they did for PS4 on my PS4. Funny that. And I have a couple of the re-released ones they've done for backwards compatible Xbox. So they've done Republic Commando, Jedi Academy, Knights of the Old Republic and stuff. And yeah, exactly. Like the real kind of pinnacle
good
of
ones.
The
Republic Commando was great.
The peak era of kind of Star Wars gaming when there were
fond members of Republic Commando.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So on that subject, if they were to release a game for PS4, you have a PS4.
I do, yes.
So I'm using this as an example.
All right. Okay. Sorry, I thought it was one of those questions I'd say yes to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, hopefully you will. Is there which game would kind of be the one you would want them to announce as a remaster or a reimagining of the original?
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron's I like that one quite a bit. Rogue Squadron was really good. The second one was really good as well. Mm-hmm. That was released on the GameCube, and then they had the third one, which was less, it was less kind of incredible, but it came with a 2-player version of Rogue Squadron 2.
Oh, nice.
Just on the disc.
Oh, superb.
Which was great. And I played that with my housemate at the time, just all the way through, and that was pretty awesome. I'd quite like to see them redo. So this would have to be a remake because the old one does not date well. Supremacy on the PC, which was released in the US as Rebellion.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like it's kind of loosely, they sort of loosely, a loose tie into the board game, very, very, very loose. Yeah. Because it's kind of planet by planet and you move fleets around and stuff like that. And I just feel like it would, if you were to take, to be honest, if you were to take the team that made the digital version of Scythe and put them on Rebellion, I think you could make a cracking PC version. Yeah.
Have you set your eye on the Armada expansion that's coming out?
I have not, no.
The Outer Rim campaign, it basically turns Armada into something more like Empire at War.
Yeah.
With logistics and plotting which planets you're going to take over. Mm-hmm. So look forward to that on Fire when ready, because we are going to be playing through it.
That sounds pretty cool.
We'll have you on as many episodes as we can fit you on.
Well, absolutely. And I will be on as many as I can make.
Superb.
As
Thanks
always.
for playing.
That is a good arrangement, I feel.
Yeah.
So, I think I would love to see some kind of, because you can obviously play some of these games on Steam still and similar services.
And GOG, I think maybe
GOG has at least a few of them. I know for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think before they released a couple of them on Steam, I bought them on GOG to have them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they've got pretty much everything now, if not everything, on Steam. So, and other services are available, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your least favourite Star Wars game?
In terms of the ones I played, or just in general?
No, in terms of ones you didn't play. I forgot to say, Rob. Yes, of course, the ones you played.
But the only reason I ask is because I heard very horrendous things about Force Commander, and it put me right off it before I'd even touched it.
I played it a little bit and enjoyed it fine, but I didn't sink a lot of time into it.
Okay. I'm trying to think.
It was no Galactic Battlegrounds.
No, for sure. But, which to be fair was no Age of Empires, but in close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. In terms
Mine's a weird one. It was different. We had Star Wars Chess, which was basically battle chess.
God, I had
Star Wars animations. But it was either the coding was awful or our PC was a little bit Stone Age. And so between you programming and moving and the piece of successfully completed animation, you would hear the same musical sting like 15 times. But it would be the same little couple of second clip, which would cut off at a really abrupt moment. And then just loop while you waited for Yoda to shuffle across the board.
Yeah.
And now, whenever I hear any of those stings in those movies, my PTSD is triggered, and I'm suddenly waiting for this animation to kick in.
I remember that. It would just be like bum 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 ba bum bum ba-dum. Bum 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 ba-dum. It's not like a DJ.
It wouldn't even though. It'd be like ba 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 ba. It would cut off like halfway through a note sometimes, which isn't musically possible.
No,
but there
indeed.
it is.
Yeah, it does. It does sort of feel like they missed a trick by not having a really good Star Wars chess game. Because at the very end of it, if you win, like you could have the whole medal presentation ceremony to sort of see you off. That'd be great. I feel like I think certainly in terms of not having dated that well, I feel like people give far too fair a shake to Rebel Assault.
I don't know. I've played that one.
That strikes me as one.
Mega CD one, I think.
I think for that and PC.
Okay.
But that one, it's either that or, and this is not to say by any means that I don't enjoy the game, because actually in this regard,
a wedge-centric one, wasn't it?
Yeah, in this regard, I always feel like I've been quite lucky with Star Wars games. So I don't really play. I can't recall having played many of the ones that are considered to suck, like the Super Bombard Racings and the Master of Terraskazi and stuff.
Or Master of Terraskazi was balls.
Yeah, I would say probably Force Unleashed 2, but that's not because it's a bad game.
It was a bad game.
I don't. I didn't have the experience of like this is an objectively bad game. It's probably because I've played a lot of Schlock. Maybe it's that. Just the sheer volume.
It was lazy. It was very repetitive.
I have no problem with that as a criticism of it. I think that's totally fair.
I'd temporarily forgotten about Masters of Terraskazi, which was just.
I mean, to me, that speaks volumes.
Not only was it a bad one-on-one fighter.
Yeah.
It was never, ever going to compete with the A-list stuff like what was around at the time. Tekken was around, it was PlayStation 1.
Yes.
So realistically, we'd had Tekken, Battle Arena Toshinden had come and gone. Soul Edge was really popular.
You'd already had Mortal Kombat 1 and 2.
We'd had Mortal Kombat, Fatal Fury, Street Fighter, all that stuff had been around. So, Tekken was very much king at the time.
Actually, had you had Mortal Kombat 3 by that point?
Well, I had Mortal Kombat 3 on PlayStation, so it was around that time. Yeah.
Same generation at least.
Yeah. But it was just a bad one-on-one beat 'em up, which made no sense because it was like Luke fighting Han in a kung fu unarmed match. Darth Vader getting into fisticuffs. I mean, it seemed ludicrous at the time that Darth Vader would deign to enter into martial arts combat with a single Tusken Raider, but we've since been proved wrong on that.
We've since been learned that there's very little he won't do with a Tusken Raider.
Yeah, absolutely. Mara Jade was put in because it was back at a time where Lucasfilm believed that people gave a crap about the expanded universe. And
certainly not the broad spectrum of gamers. I think were probably pretty numb to it.
But then there was also a brand new character created for the game who was Arden Lin, something like that. I think Evil Lin, something like that. Who was Emperor Palpatine's unarmed combat assassin, who was supposed to be his secret assassin for taking people out, which must have been an awkward staff meeting, him giving you that meeting, and Mara Jade and Darth Vader are standing directly behind us. Dude, we are right here.
Yeah. You clearly still need me.
Yeah. But
whatever. No, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, and make sure you take them all out in unarmed combat, and go for Han Solo and Princess Leia too. Also, if you bump into a random Gamorrean and a random Tusken Raider, why not go for them as well?
You know what? I don't hate that.
The best bit was it had a really weird kind of not like the Mortal Kombat had quite like a almost like a death metal, black metal, flawless victory vocals over it. This one had a much more cartoonish Street Fighter 2 perfect type voice.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it would give this awful kind of game show vibe when it introduces the characters. So it would be like, Luke, Leia. Do you remember I mentioned there was a Gamorrean guard?
Yes.
His name
was
spelt THOK.
Okay.
So that every time you select it, it'd be Luke versus Fuck.
I was hoping he'd just deliver it really flat, like Thok.
No, it was quite
forceful.
Definitely. Yeah. Han Solo, fuck. Best bit is you ain't got to blip this.
No, indeed. That was that game.
It was just so awful.
Game sucked.
And it was just the whole concept behind it was just ludicrous.
Yeah.
And then it was, as you say, a fucking awful game as well.
Okay, now you're testing the limits here. I know you think it makes you feel. I know it makes you feel good and you're happy in the pants, but
I won't do it anymore. I promise.
Okay, good.
Unless I'm specifically talking about the
character in Terrace
the Gamorrean character.
I appreciate it. Terrace Kazi.
There's a niche.
Yeah, indeed. There's somewhere out there the Terrace Kazi podcast is like, this means war. Well, we'll settle this in unarmed combat.
There's going to be one, deep dark corner of Tumblr dedicated to it, because there's not much else left on Tumblr.
No, it's true. They have kind of gutted it of anything interesting, but not. I don't necessarily fall out entirely with that, but
no,
depends on my mood. Not like most things. Where were we? So, we talked about video games. So, our next message comes from Matt Salvatore, who has been kind enough to take advantage of our audio ability and send us something audioable. So let me just cue it up. And away we go.
All right, question. I also agree it has turned to the dark side. But I don't... the reason why I don't think it's... actually more speak, that was the original way, what I got from it. And Out of the Shadows and Suspicious the Hut. My good...
Well, Matt, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear from people. It's been a while since I've heard Matt's voice, and I'd forgotten just kind of what dulcet tones he has. He has a voice for radio.
Yeah, it's a sexy voice.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research on Masters of Terrace Kazi.
Of course you did.
In the interim as well. I wanted to check if I got the woman's name right. It was Arden Lin is the original character.
Fair enough.
But in addition to Thok, the Gamorrean, remember I mentioned there was a Tusken Raider?
Yes.
Her name was spelled Hoar.
Oh, come on. Come on.
So, yeah. So and I'll leave it to... I'm not going to do it one. You guys can imagine how the presenter voiced that.
Yeah.
I think what would happen if you picked those two characters together. And, as teenage boys we did.
Yeah.
And
you know what's really funny is, like, you sent me while we were listening to Matt's question there, you sent me the fandom legends entry for Thok.
Yeah.
And there's so much here.
That was what the old expanded universe was like.
Yeah.
Everyone, the world and his wife had an encyclopedia.
Oh man, there's so much.
Also, there are also unlockable characters in Darth Vader, Princess Leia in metal bikini,
right?
Stormtrooper, who you'd think would be one you'd just be able to unlock straight off the bat, but apparently he was a hidden character.
Yeah,
Mara Jade and Jodo Cast.
Right. I mean,
remember I said about that version of Boba Fett that no one really cared about?
Yeah. Okay.
Jodo Cast.
Oh, right. Gotcha. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Matt's question.
Enough of Master. I can't believe I brought off. This is more than I ever anticipated talking about Master of Terraskazi in a given week.
Yeah. So before we answer Matt's question, I'm actually going to read our next question from Dave because it touches on similar themes. So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to include, and then we're just going to talk about that general premise. So Dave writes, "Good day, fellas. Firstly, let me apologise for my incorrect use of the term cloning during my Palpatine theory last week. So this would actually be the week before last because I think Dave's either an episode behind or maybe just awkward timing for writing in because he makes references several times to last week's episode, which would be the week before. Thanks for the correction, Brad.
I wish more people would say that.
I mean, there's a way to get... Yeah, I mean... and when I referred to the possibility of Palpatine creating a clone in the form of Rey, I did actually mean to say genetically engineered a clone in the form of Rey. Nevertheless, I was pretty chuffed that my error in terminology provided you with an episode title. So that would be...
I'm glad you took my rant in the spirit in which it was intended.
Episode 181, that's not how clones work.
Yeah.
Now, since the episode, we've had the D23 episode 9 trailer drop, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So, see previous episode. Back to my Palpatine clone / genetically engineered Rey theory. I reckon the Rey we see with the dual red lightsaber is one of the genetically engineered clones made by Palpatine. Maybe the Rey we've got to know in the first two films is the light side creation he made, and one in the trailer is the dark side creation. Maybe he had a plan for both to meet at some stage for whatever reason. I'm not sure about the OT and prequel homage at the start. Seems a bit of fan ass kissing to me, and if they'd done a better job at connecting the sequel trilogy to the OT trilogy, this wouldn't be needed. Okay. I'd love to hear if... I'd love to hear if you have any canon background on the red-eyed C-3PO.
No.
And how
unless it's 000. No.
Yeah. So there you go. 000 is a protocol droid with red eyes.
Yeah.
How's the fleet of old-school Star Destroyers? Very cool. Has Palpatine been hiding an entire fleet for 30 years in preparation for something?
If anyone was going to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Thrawn.
And the Mandalorian trailer was amazing. It looks very OT, rustic, dusty, and dirty. I almost read that as rustic, dustic, and dirtic.
Same.
Which is 3 unlockable characters from Master of Terraskazi 2 coming soon. So much to talk about this week. Can't wait to hear your thoughts and opinions. Dave in Western Australia. So, Ray, I've seen this theory get a lot of traction this week.
Where has this clone thing come from, Mo?
So, it's interesting. Let's say this seems to have come from... it just seems to have come from alternate explanations for her. It's kind of like if this isn't a Force vision, what else could it be? That's kind of how I see it being interpreted. But actually, when you think about it, like when I've been I've been seeing it pop up on Twitter, certainly in Star Wars Twitter a couple of times this week, and when I started to kind of chew it over, the idea of somebody sympathetic to the Resistance or the Republic pulling a clone out of Palpatine's lab and then keeping her somewhere out of sight where she then grows up to be Rey because she hasn't had the kind of surrounding of dark side influence actually makes a ton of sense in terms of...
Is this going to come back to her? She's a clone of Shmi.
I don't think so. But I mean, that would be one way round the thing that would work as a Shmi thing, but at the same time it wouldn't be she is the same person.
Yeah. I
mean, I don't know why you would... My only question with that would be, why would you do that? If you're Palpatine... So if you're Palpatine, why would you clone the mother of the most powerful Force user ever created rather than the most powerful Force user ever created?
Yeah. Unless because that one didn't go so well for you.
Maybe. But if it just... Maybe it's... I don't know. Maybe it's not that simple with... cloning Jedi in the new canon. Maybe it's more complicated.
There was something in the Karen Travis novels about they can't clone Force users.
Yeah, because also didn't it drive them crazy?
Yeah.
Because they had Jorus Kaboth and Jorus Kaboth.
Yeah, there's something... I was sure in the Karen Travis novels it was they couldn't just clone Jedi.
Yeah.
for whatever. Yeah, it might be they went bonkers.
Yeah. Well, certainly
because in Dark Empire, they're not actually clones of Palpatine, are they? They're empty bodies that he inhabits.
Yeah. So they're clone they're clone bodies which he inhabits with his Dark Force essence. Because he is the essence he's the embodiment of pure evil in that.
Because you can't clone midichlorians.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. So maybe but then that doesn't explain why Rey can use the Force.
I almost had something going there, Wade.
Yeah, well, but I mean, I don't dislike it. I'm not meaning to torpedo it.
I'm on to you.
So, yeah, I mean, the idea of Rey as a clone, as Rey as a clone of Rey, which is essentially what we're talking about.
Who's the original Rey?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Like, is there an original Rey? Maybe she's meant, like, say that when you say, okay, she then grows up to be Shmi, and maybe she's kind of Shmi's a clone. Shmi's a clone. She's Ebenezer clone. Obscure.
For some reason I knew that was coming. I don't know how.
Obscure 90s electronic reference for you there.
Yeah. Oh, we're alienating anyone who's not English today.
Well, you know.
God blimey, Gav. Indeed.
So I was saying to God blimey, but I didn't really do it the most elegant job there.
Yeah.
The idea of Rey as a clone, as I say, the idea of growing trying to develop Force-sensitive clones, because maybe it's never been done, and maybe that's what the special research facility on Jakku is all about. Is trying to.
There's been nothing in the movies about it being a cloning facility. I find it strange that they'd use that deep pool as an explanation in episode 9.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I think it would be. The only thing I could say that might make it plausible is it's not the kind of thing that would require a ton of dialogue to say. Even something as simple as like, why do you think the Empire fought so hard to defend this place all those years ago? That something like that would be.
Yeah, it could be handled.
I guess sufficient. Now, I say, then the question becomes:
I'm wondering why it was at Jakku.
Why would you hide Rey on the same planet as a research facility? If you're trying to obfuscate her, is what my question. Yeah. Not if you're trying to. If she's on there, if she's supposed to be on there, and she's on there, that's one thing. But if you're trying to hide her, that's different.
Oh, take the boy where Vader will not find him, on his home planet under his real name.
Yeah, surrounded by his the only family that Anakin ever met. Tenuous though it may be.
It would be a way of echoing it.
Yeah, I suppose. I just feel like that the fact that we see the ship in the teaser, the original teaser, the one that's flying through the rain, like sort of through the buildings and stuff. The one that people have pointed out looks very suspiciously like the ship that she sees in her vision when she touched the lightsaber in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That combined, it almost feels like she's going to encounter the people who are responsible for her being on Jakku, whether that's her parents or not. It almost feels like that's going to be part of her story in this film. There's going to be some reveal that's going to touch into that. It's all going to tie. It's all going to tie together in some way like that. But I don't know. This is the trouble. Like I don't dislike the idea of having a clone of Rey being a clone of some Force users.
Yeah.
In an attempt to crack, maybe even to crack that problem of they've never been able to successfully clone a Force user. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe that's how you crack it. Is you build a special research facility somewhere and you work on it in secret. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just it's weird to me that people have cottoned onto the cloning thing so heavily. Because, as I've said before, cloning is not a big part of Star Wars.
No, but I think it's one of those ones.
I think it's like, how can there be more than one Rey? An obvious answer is it's a clone.
It's a totally obvious answer. Let's say Force Vision is kind of equally obvious in terms of like how can you have a dark side Rey in a film that will pretty obviously not have a dark side Rey.
Yeah,
that's kind of in the same way. It's like, well, you get around it by having two Reys.
unless it is going to be echoing kind of a Luke fight from
Luke
Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, from Last Command. Is it the Last Command, the third one?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's Luke versus Luke.
Yeah.
Versus Luke
For those who aren't aware of what's going on, we don't think Timothy Zahn knew either, but basically clones couldn't pronounce their own name properly. That was the old canon.
There was a double. It was like they were, because it was some weird rule that
they didn't try as hard when it was a book. That's all it was.
It was like patent law. It's like, oh no, you can't call him Luke. There's a bloke called Luke. So you have to call him something else. All right, what about if I just double the vowel? Yeah, that works.
Make him sound like an IKEA bedstand. That's what we've got him.
Yeah. Have you got the jurist? Yeah. Have you got my jurist? I'm trying to stick my lamp up. Yeah, it does. It does feel like it was just an effort, like to kind of clearly distinguish them in the books.
Yeah.
Very.
I wonder how it works in audio, but I don't care that much. But
yeah, just jurist.
Yeah.
Luke.
board.
Yes, it's a Swedish chef voice. I think it's Dennis Lawson doing those books. Poor boy.
Yes, they did redo it with Anthony Daniels, I think, as well for some anniversary version.
Yes. Heir to the Empire. It's Heir to the Empire, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't find any results in the store. I wonder. Certainly nothing in my... No, I can't find it anywhere, to be honest. I wonder if they've...
It's not in the archives, it does not exist.
Well, this is what she keeps telling me, but, I'm pretty sure I saw that book, so she can make of it what she will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'd say I can't see it. I got nothing.
Okay.
I can get it on Google, but not on Audible, which is weird.
Very strange. I've bought the abridged one for Audible before. Don't ask me why. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can only get the print book, the e-book on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they've dropped them.
No, maybe.
It could be I guess it could be a licensing thing. Now that they're not canon anymore, there's probably not as much desire to hold on to the...
Rent the shelf space, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Like I said about Tiny Death Star, they've likely got a fee that needs to be maintained.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, presumably every book you put on Audible has some sort of, maybe not cost, but footprint that requires you to kind of pay per. Maybe the bigger publishing places pay by the books.
I don't know.
I've no idea. I've never gone down the audiobook route. Often wanted to.
I have 2 audiobooks out, but the publisher dealt with all of it. I don't know actually what the inner workings were.
No, that's fair. I mean, I've always kind of been tempted to go down the audiobook route, but there's a lot of conditions that don't make a lot of sense to me about audio requirements and stuff.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily know how they translate to what I do.
Okay.
Like the kit I've got, does it work? Who knows? If that's something people would be interested in, an audio book of my pamphlet, then holler at your boy, because
I'll record it and I'll do my best Rob impression.
I did podcast once.
That's the one.
Oh, you've heard my Rob impression.
Yeah.
No, why?
Or just alternate with Blake every page.
Yeah, why not?
Or just at the end of it, or at the end of every page, just so Blake goes, yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I fully accept that.
Yeah, it's a podcast type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know the one. Yeah. Bless him.
My brother, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Podcaster extraordinaire.
Yeah, indeed. I've given him a rest.
Hope you fed him.
Getting back on the horse.
Train.
Yeah, back on the train. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. When your October project's finished.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Project October is the key one. Project Nuptial, then go from there. Any other Star Wars news this week? We got a couple of Mandalorian photos, didn't we?
Yeah, but
they were kind of cool.
They were fine as him fighting a couple of people. Seem to think they were Trandoshans. They didn't really look like Trandoshans to me. So
they look kind of Deveronian to me.
Yeah, without horns.
Yeah,
or a Nikto.
Yeah. But apparently Trandoshans was what they were captioned as, because I've seen that photo doing the rounds everywhere, and it's they're all kind of doing the same thing. But yeah, I just they're cool. They're very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Mandalorian.
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so. I just hope we can get it. I mean, I would love to get it this side of Christmas, but not so much.
I think it's unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I think February, March is.
Mm-hmm. But we'll just have to have a binge party as soon as we can.
Well, exactly. Yeah, this is it. You know, I'm sure we can put together some sort of special TSW binge watch wrap up or something.
Yeah.
Or so we'll figure something out. I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
Because we're going to need to fill 3 years.
We're going to do a Masters of Terraskazi Let's Play.
I don't even know how you'd go about doing that, and I don't know that I want to find out.
Well, you need to find a copy of the game on eBay and get a PS3, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'd have to get one of the early PS3s with backwards compatibility as well.
My one is, for sure.
Oh, your one is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you get one of the first PS3s then? The first one?
No, I bought PS1 games through the store before. I assumed it was the same.
Oh,
same
no.
deal.
The disc ones, you have to have the right model of PS3 to make it work.
Oh, okay.
Has to be
well,
an
in that
older
case, parity.
I guess that would be the only option is some sort of emulation,
Unless that's
station.
the next surprise announcement coming to Switch next week.
I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Not entirely
Mostly
surprised.
I'd be surprised mostly because of the awful language that would need to be edited for a Nintendo release.
Yeah, well, But I mean, you say that, but they've got Hotline Miami on there now. They've definitely...
Have they really?
Yeah, they broadened out quite a bit in terms of the kind of stuff they have on there. I mean, basically, as long as you've played Nintendo since the 90s, that's kind of changed. It's, Mortal Kombat's Resi.
Mortal Kombat cost them a lot of money, though.
Yes, and, if you've ever... I don't know if you've ever read the book Console Wars.
It's on my to-read pile.
It's a great book, and it talks actually very specifically about that game. And
people were selling them SNESes because they wanted to buy a proper version of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, but then actually behind the scenes, apparently Nintendo were kind of steering the lobby, the lobbyists towards regulation because of that game.
Okay,
things like that. So it's like there's lots of back and forth between Sega and Nintendo behind the scenes. Like they didn't get on very well at the time. But there are, it's a really good book because there's a lot of nuance to that. It sounds like it's like, oh, well, of course they hate each other, but actually it's not that simple. And the book is a really good history of that stuff. Framed almost entirely from Sega's point of view, but with, a fair bit of
someone's.
Yeah. And it's done from a guy called Tom Kalinske, whose tie to Star Wars, at least to toys, is that he was he worked at I want to say Kenner or Hasbro during the sort of peak of 80s toys. Okay. He was one of the sort of senior executives and went to Sega in the mid-90s.
Okay, cool.
But very, very interesting dude in the history of geek stuff.
Okay, awesome.
Lots of very cool CV.
Yeah, we bought an AT-AT.
An AT-AT?
We bought a Kenner AT-AT for 5 ready to use as scenery.
Oh, yes, you did mention that to me. Has it turned up yet?
Yeah, it's huge.
Nice. Yeah, the original Kenner AT-AT.
Yes.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
So what to do with it?
I don't know.
Hydraulics, I'm thinking.
Yeah, why not?
Well, mainly because I'm intensely underqualified to do so, but apart from that.
I mean, how you want to do it is kind of up to you, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't tend to advise you on hydraulics and engineering because I don't know any more than
No, than the average podcast host. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my forte, and I accept that about myself. No. I can't be a whiz kid at everything, or indeed anything.
I've come to accept that now.
Yeah, exactly. I've just made my peace with it, and that's just the way my life goes.
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot of big Star Wars things going on.
Well, we did have a big week previous week.
We did. We had a big blowout.
We still managed to get an hour and a half out of this. What do people want?
Exactly. I think we're doing fine. I think ultimately everybody's fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
Let's build that reactor.
Yes, indeed. So that's about it for Talk Star Wars this week. If you've enjoyed the show and you want to subscribe, maybe this is your first time, maybe you just stumbled across it. You just innocently,
yes, we're so sorry.
Innocently browsing Twitter, and you've come across it by one of our tweets, or one through Emotionally 14's Twitter, or maybe one of our friends at Jedi News or Fantha Tracks who's kind enough to share it for us. Maybe you've seen a review on Roku Depot. They sometimes review us when time allows, and that's much appreciated.
Maybe you subscribe to Fire When Ready through YouTube, and
exactly.
this pops up in your feed.
Maybe this, exactly.
Cross promotion.
There you go.
It's like witchcraft.
Maybe you've come to this from one of the other Emotionally 14 video series or podcasts. In which case, in any case, hello there. Mm-hmm. And if you wish to subscribe, we're available on all the good podcast platforms. And
YouTube.
So YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You name it, we're almost certainly on it. And if we're not, podcast at emotionally14.com. Let us know and we can fix that, because it's much easier to know when somebody tells us.
Yep.
We have other podcasts.
These are still a thing?
I think it's still a thing. I don't know how much of a thing, but I think it's still a thing. So if you want to subscribe there, you can. As I mentioned, podcast at emotionally14.com if you want to get your questions in or your comments or feedback or whatever. Anything you want to, append to the show or just send to us. Maybe it's a question for one of us specifically, like doesn't have to be a Star Wars question.
Absolutely.
On this show, ideally it does, but it doesn't mean the answers can't turn up somewhere.
Exactly. We've had interesting questions on biscuits before.
Exactly. And we've also got lots of social media outlets for things. If questions come through that don't fit the show, we can put them elsewhere. There's plenty of options, such as the Talk Star Wars Twitter, Talk Star Wars Facebook page. If you go to talkstarwars.co.uk, that's a website which just contains the show. So if you want to just get it there directly, that's a good way of doing it.
It's most direct.
Yeah, it's also available every Monday on emotionally14.com or every Saturday if you're a patron. Now, Patreon...
Ooh, how does this work?
It's available at patreon.com/talkstarwars, and you pledge what you wish to pledge, and it starts from as little as $1 a month, which... Let's be fair. Yeah, it's really cheap. And what you get in return is 2 days kind of lead on the show. So you get it 2 days earlier, and you don't get the ads that appear in the main feed. So you just get, the show. Intro, show, outro. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So patreon.com/talkstarwars, $1 a month or whatever you care to donate. Is very much appreciated. And
that's like no money.
Exactly. It's very, I like to think it's pretty reasonable. Yep. So you can do that there. And we're also on emotionally14.com on a Monday. Emotionally14.com is also the place to find all the other E14 podcasts, all the stuff we endorse on podcasts, and also the video series like Fire When Ready, which you just mentioned.
I did.
So, Brad, if people want to follow you on social media, where's the best place to do that?
Well, if you can't get enough of me and me talking Star Wars, then you can, of course, as just mentioned, you can check out Fire When Ready, Adventures in Star Wars Tabletop Gaming on emotionally14.com and Emotionally14's YouTube channel, which is dedicated to Star Wars Legion, Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Rebellion, and Star Wars Outer Rim. If you want to add me on Facebook, please don't be shy. You can. It's facebook.com/Brad Harmer Barnes. If you want to follow me on Twitter and or Instagram, that is at RealBradHB. If you want to help me pay my mortgage, then you can, of course, buy my books through Audible and Amazon.
Yes, you can, and you can do so on every Monday on Talk Star Wars. There's a link in the post that shares the episode, and you can go from there and do so. And I would highly recommend. I definitely recommend you would. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at RobWadeVision. I'm also at the same address on Instagram. And if you follow Emotionally14 or Talk Star Wars on any of the social medias, so at Emotionally14 or at Talk Star Wars on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., there's a good chance you're talking to me, unless it's YouTube, in which case it's one of us.
Yeah, I tend to sign off if it's me.
Trying to think if there's anything else I've missed. I know the Commonwealth, I haven't done that yet, but I haven't forgotten about it. I feel like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good show.
Yeah. So, as always, I will leave you with an advertisement for our fine friends at the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. So, in addition to Talk Star Wars, we are joined by the Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, the Nerd Room, Rogue Squadron, the San Diego Sabres, Retro Inc., and the Sandcrawler Cast. 8 fantastic outlets which provide numerous wonderful podcasts and assorted other goodies. So some of them do video streams, some of them do blogs, some of them do both, some of them do several.
Yep.
There's all sorts of good stuff, and it's all fun, all discoverable on the web at StarWarsCommonwealth.com. And from there, you can take your first steps into a larger world.
Nice. We'll leave you with a hilarious advert from Ant and Dec.
Will we? Or
probably?
Okay, fair. So Thank you very much
Unless
for
you're on
listening.
Patreon, which is one way of avoiding Ant and Deck.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if that's your bag, then that's another incentive, isn't it? So thank you for listening to Talk Star Wars episode 183. We will see you next week for 184. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And as always, may the Force be with you.